Regatta is the world's first OLxP database system. OLxP database systems are distributed transactional relational SQL systems with several unique characteristics. This demonstration will show that even as we add nodes to the cluster, the per node efficiency stays constant and the total performance of the cluster scales linearly. Here you can see that we're doing a workload that's a little more complex than one of the earlier examples that we gave, and you can see that video on YouTube. Here, the data set is widely distributed across the cluster. Right now, we have 10 nodes in this cluster, and we're inserting data using queries where we've intentionally constructed it where the app and the user wouldn't know, but many of the inserts are needing to touch many nodes across the cluster. And that is stressing the concurrency control protocol that underpins this distributed system, because it needs to make sure that it's maintaining the strictest, highest level of ACID behavior, which is strict serializability and external consistency. You'll notice that it's performing relatively well at 350,000 transactions per second and a per transaction latency of roughly around 2.5 milliseconds. Now, again, this is an early engineering build that is before we've done many performance optimizations, but it's already performing relatively well. Now, let's see what happens as the cluster scales. We've now increased the number of nodes in the cluster by a factor of 10. Now, logically, people think, well, the cluster is going to need to do a lot more work because the data is distributed across 10 times as many nodes. There's going to be 10 times as many dialogues between nodes to make sure that we're doing everything consistently. And again, this is a 100% write workload with a lot of work that the concurrency control algorithm is needing to do. But you'll notice that that's not actually how this new category of system behaves. 10 times as many nodes is doing 10 times as many transactions per second, 3.5 million transactions per second. And the per transaction latency is the same at roughly around 2.5 milliseconds. Again, in a non-performance optimized early Regatta build. So what have we seen here? We've seen that Regatta, as the world's first OLxP database system, is exhibiting this characteristic that is unique to OLxP database systems, where, as a distributed transactional relational SQL system, you can add nodes, and as you add nodes, the performance of the cluster scales linearly, and the efficiency per node stays constant. And here we've demonstrated it with a workload that is more challenging, that is a distributed write workload that has data distributed across the whole cluster and is challenging and pushing on the concurrency control protocol.